With Marcus's flash drive, David and I spent 72 straight hours building a new case. The documents were devastating. Internal emails where Derek explicitly told investors he handled all technical development, financial records showing he had restructured my employment multiple times to minimize my payout, messages between Derek and his lawyer strategizing how to minimize Victoria's claims months before we broke up, evidence that he delayed my option vesting deliberately, knowing he planned to leave me. But the most damning thing was an email Derek had sent to Diane in July 2021. Once the acquisition closes, Victoria's lawsuit won't matter. The buyer will indemnify us personally. She'll be fighting Maverick Systems' legal team, not us. By the time that resolves, we'll be in the Maldives spending our money. She can have her moral victory. I'll have my $1 billion. He had planned everything. The affair, the marriage, the timing of the sale. All of it designed to extract himself cleanly while leaving me with nothing. We need to move fast, David said. If that acquisition closes, he's right, we're screwed. Can we block it? Maybe. We can file for an emergency injunction claiming the sale as an attempt to avoid legal liability. But that's a long shot. Courts don't usually block corporate acquisitions because of personal disputes. So, what do? David was quiet for a long moment. Then, we changed the game entirely. On December 1st, 2021, I did something no one expected. I dropped the lawsuit, filed a complete dismissal with prejudice, meaning I could never refile. CT Quantum's stock jumped 8% on the news. Derek issued a statement saying he was pleased this distraction is behind us. Everyone thought I had given up, that I had been broken, that I had finally accepted defeat. They had no idea what was coming. That same day, I transferred every dollar I could access, $2.1 million from exercised options, $150,000 from savings, another $200,000 from liquidating everything I owned into a series of offshore accounts. I signed over my apartment lease to a subletter. I canceled my phone service. I sent one email to Rachel. Trust me. I'll explain everything when I can. Don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing. And then I disappeared. I chose Singapore for 3 reasons. First, it's one of the most business-friendly countries in the world, with strong IP protections and favorable tax treatment for startups. Second, it's far enough from New York that I could work without looking over my shoulder, but connected enough to access the global tech ecosystem. Third, no extradition treaty for civil matters meant Derek couldn't use legal harassment to find me. I landed on December 5th, 2021, with 3 suitcases, $2.4 million in accessible funds, and a plan that had been crystallizing in my mind since Marcus handed me that flash drive. I wasn't running away. I was repositioning. The documents Marcus gave me contained something more valuable than evidence of Derek's malfeasance. They contained CT Quantum's complete technical specifications, including the next-generation quantum architecture they were developing. I knew that architecture intimately because I had designed half of it before Derek marginalized me. I knew its weaknesses, its limitations, where it would fail. More importantly, I knew how to build something better. I spent December 2021 living in a serviced apartment in Singapore's financial district, working 16-hour days on a secret project. The quantum computing space was heating up. IBM, Google, and Microsoft were all racing to achieve quantum supremacy. But they were all focused on true quantum hardware exotic systems requiring near absolute zero temperatures and massive infrastructure investments. CT Quantum's approach, quantum-inspired algorithms running on classical hardware, was more practical but limited. I had always known we could go further. But Derek had been focused on quick wins and investor metrics, not long-term technical excellence. Now I had no Derek, no investors demanding quarterly growth, no board meetings or politics, just me, my knowledge, and a burning desire to build something that would make CT Quantum obsolete. I called it Quantum Mind. The core innovation was elegant. Instead of trying to simulate quantum behavior on classical computers, Quantum Mind used a hybrid approach that offloaded specific calculations to actual quantum processors, rented time on IBM's quantum cloud, while handling the rest classically. It was the best of both worlds, the speed of quantum for the calculations that mattered, the stability of classical computing for everything else. I filed the first patents in January 2022 under a Singapore company I had formed, Chen Innovations, PT Limited. By February, I had a working prototype. By March, I was ready to fundraise. One advantage of having worked at CT Quantum: I knew everyone in the quantum computing investment space. One disadvantage: they all thought I was Derek's scorned ex-girlfriend who had tried and failed to sue him. I needed a way in that didn't rely on my name or reputation. I found it through an unexpected source, Marcus Webb. He had quit CT Quantum in January, officially, to pursue other opportunities. Actually, because he couldn't stomach working for Derek anymore. When I reached out through an encrypted email, he responded immediately. I was wondering when you would contact me. I assume you have been busy. Are you building what I think you're building? Maybe. Interested in helping? Extremely. I have 3 months of severance and a non-compete that's probably unenforceable. Tell me what you need. What I needed was someone to make introductions. Marcus had relationships with every major VC firm in the Valley, and he was willing to leverage them on my behalf. Here's the pitch, he said during our first video call. I tell them I'm advising a stealth quantum startup that's developed breakthrough technology. I show them the technical specs without revealing who's behind it. If they're interested, we schedule a meeting where you do the reveal. And when they find out it's me, some will walk away, but the smart ones will see past the drama and recognize what you have built. We only need one yes to get started. We pitched 12 firms in April 2022. 9 passed immediately when they learned I was involved. Too much baggage. Concerned about the litigation risk. Uncomfortable with the optics. 2 took meetings, but ultimately passed. 1 said yes. Crimson Ventures, a Singapore-based firm specializing in deep tech. We don't care about your personal drama, said Linda Zhao, the managing partner. We care that you have built something that makes CT Quantum look like a toy. How much are you raising? $10 million seed round. We'll lead with $6 million at a $30 million valuation. Use the money to hire a team and build out the commercial platform. Come back in a year and we'll do your Series A. We closed the round in May 2022. Chen Innovations was real. With funding secured, I hired aggressively. My first hire was Yuki Tanaka, a quantum physicist who had published groundbreaking papers on hybrid quantum classical systems. She had been overlooked for promotion at her university because she was too unconventional. I have been waiting for someone to build this, she said when I recruited her. Everyone in quantum is obsessed with purity, pure quantum systems, pure approaches. But nature doesn't work that way. Biology uses hybrid systems all the time. Why shouldn't computers? My second hire was James Chen, still no relation, a security expert who had worked at the NSA before becoming disillusioned with government surveillance programs. You're building something that could change the world, he said. I want to make sure it's secure. Too much quantum tech is being developed with security as an afterthought. Third was Maria Santos, a business development expert who had spent 10 years in enterprise sales at IBM. I'm tired of selling other people's visions, she said. I want to build something from scratch, and I want to work for a founder who actually understands the technology instead of just pitching buzzwords. By August 2022, we were a team of 12. By December, we were 35, and we were fast. Faster than CT Quantum had ever been. No board meetings, no investor updates, no politics or positioning, just brilliant people building brilliant technology. The breakthrough came in February 2023. We had been working on optimizing the handoff between quantum and classical processors, the bottleneck that limited performance in hybrid systems. Traditional approaches use serial processing, solve one part quantum, transfer results, solve the next part classically. Yuki had a better idea. Parallel processing. What if we don't wait for the quantum calculation to finish? She proposed during a 2 a.m. brainstorming session. What if we predict what the quantum processor will return and start the classical calculation in parallel? If we're right, we save time. If we're wrong, we have only lost microseconds. Quantum results are probabilistic, James countered. How do you predict them? Machine learning. We train a model on thousands of quantum calculations. It learns to predict the most likely outcomes. It won't be right every time, but it'll be right enough. We spent 6 weeks implementing the idea. When we finally tested it, the results were staggering. 8,000x faster than CT Quantum's best benchmarks. 8,000 times. We had just made Derek's entire company obsolete. While I was building Quantum Mind in Singapore, life in New York had continued without me. CT Quantum's acquisition by Maverick Systems closed in February 2022. Derek personally made $847 million. Diane got whatever he had promised her, probably a massive house in the Hamptons and enough designer clothes to fill it. The tech press covered it as a victory. Derek Castellano strikes gold again. No one mentioned that the again was actually the first time, and that the gold had been built on someone else's foundation. But something else was happening that I only learned about later. CT Quantum was struggling. Without me, they had lost their technical North Star. The engineers I had hired started leaving, some to competitors, some to start their own companies. The next generation quantum architecture was behind schedule. Customer complaints about system reliability were increasing. Derek tried to hire his way out of the problem, bringing in expensive consultants and senior engineers from IBM and Google. But you can't buy institutional knowledge. You can't buy the understanding of a system built from first principles by the person who designed it. By December 2022, CT Quantum's growth had stalled. The integration with Maverick Systems was messy, and the quantum computing market was heating up with new competitors. Derek was finding out what I had known all along. He was a great salesman, but he had never been a builder. In March 2023, Chen Innovations was ready for commercial launch. We had a production-ready platform that outperformed CT Quantum by 8,000x, 12 patents on core technology, $30 million in funding, a team of 50 brilliant engineers, pilot customers in finance, healthcare, and defense, and a secret weapon. I knew exactly where CT Quantum was vulnerable. I also knew Derek's playbook. I knew how he pitched investors, how he positioned technology, how he handled competitive threats. I knew his weaknesses because I had spent 3 years compensating for them. We are ready to launch, Marcus said during our March strategy meeting. The question is, how loud do we want to be? That was the question that had kept me up for weeks. I could launch quietly, build the business steadily, compete with CT Quantum in the market like a normal competitor. Eventually, the technology would speak for itself. Or I could do something else, something Derek would never expect. The Global Tech Summit is in 2 weeks, I said. In New York. The room went quiet. You want to launch there? Yuki asked. That's Derek's home turf. CT Quantum is a platinum sponsor. He'll be keynoting. Exactly. Victoria, Marcus said carefully. If you're doing this for revenge, I'm not, I interrupted. I'm doing this because the Global Tech Summit gets 50,000 attendees and every major tech journalist in the world. If we're going to announce that we've made quantum computing actually practical, that's where we do it. And if Derek's there, then he gets to watch me take back everything he stole. In front of everyone. Maria leaned forward. I love it. But we need to be smart about this. We can't just show up and demand stage time. We don't have to. I still know people on the organizing committee, people who remember me from before, who know what really happened. Let me make some calls. The Global Tech Summit Organizing Committee was more receptive than I had expected. Victoria Chen, said Sarah Martinez, the conference director, when I video called her. I heard you had left the country. We all wondered what happened to you. I have been building something I would like to debut at the summit. We're pretty locked for speakers. CT Quantum has the main stage keynote. I know. But you also have the Emerging Technology Showcase, right? The slot on Tuesday morning? That's for startups, pre-revenue companies looking for visibility. Chen Innovations closed a $10 million seed round and has pilot customers in 3 verticals. We're pre-revenue, but not for long. And what we've built, Sarah, it's going to change the industry. You're competing with Derek's company. I'm not competing. I'm leapfrogging. Our technology is 8,000 times faster than CT Quantum's best benchmarks. I can prove it live on stage. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. You know this is going to create drama. I know. The press is going to make it about you and Derek, not about the technology. Let them. I'll let the technology speak for itself. Why are you really doing this, Victoria? Honestly, I thought about lying, about pretending this was purely about business. But Sarah had always been straight with me. Because Derek took credit for work I did. He minimized my contributions, married my sister, and made millions while painting me as a bitter ex trying to steal from his success. I disappeared because I couldn't fight him in court or the press, but I can fight him in the market. And I want him to watch me do it. Sarah smiled slowly. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Emerging Tech Showcase. You'll have 30 minutes. Make them count. I flew into New York on Monday, March 27th, 2023, 18 months after I had disappeared. 18 months of silence, of building, of becoming someone else entirely. The city looked different. Or maybe I looked different. I wasn't the woman who had left broken, betrayed, scrambling to survive. I was someone new, someone harder, someone who knew exactly what she was worth. Rachel met me at the airport. She didn't recognize me at first. I had cut my hair short, dyed it darker. I had lost the weight that stress and heartbreak had put on. I was wearing a custom suit I had made in Singapore, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, expensive in a way that whispered instead of shouted. "Holy shit," Rachel said when she finally saw me. "Vic?" "Hey, Rach." She pulled me into a hug that lasted a full minute. "You disappeared. 18 months, Vic." I thought. I didn't know what to think. "I'm sorry. I had to go dark, completely dark. If Derek had known what I was building, he would have tried to stop you." "I get it." She pulled back, looking at me. "You look different. I am different. Good different, dangerous different." We got coffee at a place near the Javits Center, where the summit was being held. Rachel wanted to know everything, where I had been, what I had built, what I was planning. "I read about Chen Innovations," she said, "but everything's been so secretive. What are you actually launching tomorrow?" "Something that's going to make CT Quantum look like a prototype." "Vic, are you sure about this?" "Derek's going to be there. He's keynoting Tuesday afternoon. You're going to see him. I'm counting on it." "And Diane?" The name still hurt, but distantly, like a scar that only aches in certain weather. "I don't know if she'll be there. I don't care. This isn't about her." "Is it about him?" "It's about me. It's about showing the world who actually built the foundation he's standing on. It's about taking back my narrative." Rachel reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I'm proud of you for not letting them destroy you. They did destroy me. That Victoria, the one who believed in love and partnership and building things together, she's dead. I'm what's left. You're better than what's left. You're what rises from the ashes." That evening, I did a final run-through of my presentation in my hotel room. 30 minutes to change everything. The presentation was technically brilliant but accessible. It showed the limitations of current quantum computing approaches, CT Quantum's hybrid model, and where it failed, Quantum Mind's innovation and why it was 8,000x faster, live demonstrations with real-world applications, customer testimonials from pilot programs, commercial availability and pricing. But the opening was personal. 3 years ago, I invested $287,000 of my mother's life insurance money in a dream. That dream became CT Quantum, now a subsidiary of Maverick Systems, valued at $4 billion. You've all heard the story of Derek Castellano, the entrepreneur who failed 3 times before succeeding. What you haven't heard is that he didn't succeed alone. Today, I'm going to show you what happens when the person who actually built the foundation gets to build on her own terms. Marcus, who had flown in from San Francisco, thought it was too direct. "You're going to look vindictive," he warned during a late-night call. I'm done caring how I look. I care about the truth. The truth is complicated. Maybe leave the personal stuff out and just focus on the technology. The personal stuff is why I'm doing this. If I just wanted to build a company, I could have done it quietly. This is about taking back my story. Just don't let the story overshadow the technology. He was right, but I couldn't help myself. I had been silent for 18 months. I had watched Derek take credit, watched him prosper, watched him rewrite history while I rebuilt in the shadows. Tomorrow, I would rewrite it back. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching a story, you're witnessing a revolution. Subscribe right now, because what happens in that conference room changes everything. Not just for Victoria. For everyone who's ever been erased from their own success story. Comment "Rise" if you're ready to see her rise. Tuesday morning, March 28th, 2023, 9 a.m. The Emerging Technology Showcase room at the Javits Center held about 300 people. Not the thousands who would attend Derek's keynote later that afternoon, but enough. As I walked to the stage, I scanned the audience. Tech journalists, investors, engineers, competitors. And in the back, half hidden behind a column, wearing sunglasses inside, Diane. My sister had come to watch me fail. I smiled. The moderator introduced me with a confusion that was almost comical. Victoria Chen, CEO of Chen Innovations, here to discuss advances in quantum computing architecture. Victoria previously worked at CT Quantum and is now building. I'll let her explain. I took the stage. 300 faces looked back at me, some curious, some skeptical, some already pulling out their phones to live tweet what was clearly going to be drama. Good morning, I said. My name is Victoria Chen. 3 years ago, I invested $287,000, my mother's entire life insurance policy, in a quantum computing startup called Castellano Technologies. You know it now as CT Quantum. The room went completely silent. I wasn't an employee, though that's what the press releases said. I wasn't a minor contributor, though that's what the history books will tell you. I was the technical co-founder. I wrote the foundational code. I designed the original architecture. I filed the first patents. And I was systematically erased from the story because I didn't fit the narrative of the brilliant male founder. I could see phones everywhere now, cameras recording. 18 months ago, after my fiancé married my sister and sold the company we built for $4 billion, a company built on my mother's life insurance money, my code, my sleepless nights, I disappeared. People thought I had given up, that I had been broken by betrayal and heartbreak and legal battles I couldn't win. I advanced the slide. The Chen Innovations logo appeared. I wasn't broken. I was building. The next slide showed our core technology diagram. This is Quantum Mind, a hybrid quantum classical computing platform that uses machine learning to predict quantum outcomes and process them in parallel. It's not an incremental improvement over existing approaches. It's a fundamental reimagining of how quantum and classical systems work together. I walked them through the technology, step by step. The innovations, the breakthroughs, the elegant solutions to problems CT Quantum had never solved. And then I showed the benchmarks. CT Quantum's fastest processing speed for complex quantum calculations, 2.3 seconds. Quantum Mind's average processing speed for the same calculations, 0.000287 seconds. That's 8,014 times faster. The room exploded in whispers. Some of you are thinking, that's impossible. Those numbers can't be real. So let me prove it to you. I had brought a live demo, a real-time quantum calculation running on our platform versus a simulation of CT Quantum's best performance. The CT Quantum simulation, 2.3 seconds. Quantum Mind, 0.0003 seconds. The same calculation, solved 7,667 times faster. Live. In front of 300 witnesses. Chen Innovations is now accepting commercial customers. We're partnered with 3 major financial institutions, 2 healthcare networks, and a defense contractor I can't name. And we're just getting started. I paused, looking directly at where Diane was standing. Derek Castellano taught me something valuable. That in tech, it doesn't matter who actually builds the innovation. What matters is who tells the story. Well, today I'm taking back my story. The foundation of CT Quantum was built by me. And now, I've built something better. Something that makes CT Quantum obsolete. The room erupted in applause. Not polite conference applause, genuine, shocked, impressed applause. I took questions for 20 minutes. Every single one was technical, serious, legitimate. No one asked about Derek. No one asked about my sister. They asked about the technology. Because the technology was undeniable. Within an hour, I was trending on Twitter. At TechCrunch, breaking. Victoria Chen debuts quantum computing platform that's 8,000x faster than CT Quantum. Live demo appears legitimate. At Bloomberg. The comeback nobody saw coming. Derek Castellano's ex-fiancé just made his company obsolete. At The Information. Chen Innovations emerges from stealth with technology that could reshape quantum computing industry. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Interview requests from every major outlet. LinkedIn connection requests from hundreds of people. Investor emails. And one text from a number I didn't recognize. Conference room, 3B now. We need to talk. Derek. I should have ignored it. Should have let him stew in whatever he was feeling. But I had come back to New York for this moment. To face him. To let him see what he had underestimated. Marcus grabbed my arm as I headed toward the conference rooms. Bad idea, probably. But I need to do this. Then I'm coming with you. No, this is between me and him. I found conference room 3B, a small, windowless meeting room in the bowels of the Javits Center. Derek was there, alone, pacing. He had changed in 18 months. The confidence was gone, replaced by something twitchy and desperate. He had gained weight, stress eating, probably. His suit was expensive but slightly rumpled, like he had been wearing it too long. Victoria. He said my name, like it hurt. Derek. What the fuck was that? That was me taking back my narrative. You made me look like a fraud, like I stole everything from you. Didn't you? We built CT Quantum together. I never denied that. Yes, you did. In every interview, in every investor pitch, in the fucking Harvard Business School case study they wrote about you. I was erased, Derek. Systematically, deliberately, because you were behind the scenes. You never wanted to be public-facing. I never wanted to be erased. There's a difference. He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I used to find endearing, now just pathetic. Your little demonstration out there, that's going to tank our stock. Investors are going to panic. Customers are going to question whether we're falling behind. Do you know what you've done? I know exactly what I've done. I've shown the world that the emperor has no clothes. That without me, CT Quantum stagnated. That the brilliant visionary Derek Castellano is actually just a salesman who got lucky finding the right technical partner. Is that what you think? That you were the only one contributing? I raised the money, Vic. I brought in the customers. I navigated the politics. You were great at code, but building a company is more than that. You're right. It is more than that. It's also about integrity, about giving credit where it's due, about not fucking your partner's sister while planning to sell the company out from under her. He flinched. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You can't get over Diane. This stopped being about Diane the moment I disappeared. This is about you, about the fact that you saw people, me, your employees, your investors as resources to be extracted. You optimize for your own success at everyone else's expense. And you're any different? You just humiliated me in front of the entire tech industry. I didn't humiliate you. I told the truth. If the truth is humiliating, that's on you. Derek's expression shifted from anger to something else, calculation. What do you want, Victoria? Really? You want me to publicly admit you built CT Quantum? Fine. I'll put out a statement. I'll give you credit. Just make this go away. Make what go away? This. Your company. Your vendetta. Compete in the market like a normal fucking competitor, but stop making this personal. It's been personal since you married my sister, Derek. You made it personal. We can work together on this. Merge the companies. You would have a seat at the table. Equity. Recognition. We would be unstoppable together. I laughed. Actually laughed. You want to acquire my company? I want a partner. For old times' sake. There are no old times. There's just what you did and what I'm doing about it. Which is what exactly? Destroying me? No, I don't need to destroy you. You're doing that yourself. I'm just building something better and letting the market decide. I turned to leave. Victoria? Wait. I stopped but didn't turn around. I'm sorry. For how I handled things. For Diane. For not giving you credit. I was scared of sharing the spotlight. Of admitting I needed help. And I took that out on you. I'm sorry. I looked back at him. He looked like he meant it. But I had seen Derek's performance skills before. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it's costing you something. There's a difference. I walked out. Derek's keynote was scheduled for 2 p.m. I shouldn't have attended. Should have left the conference. Gone back to my hotel. Let my moment stand on its own. But I wanted to see him try to maintain his narrative after what I had revealed that morning. The main auditorium was packed over 3,000 people. Derek took the stage to applause that felt more uncertain than enthusiastic. Everyone had seen the morning's news. Thank you for being here, he began. I'm sure many of you saw some interesting demonstrations this morning. Nervous laughter from the audience. Innovation is about pushing boundaries, about constant improvement. At CT Quantum, we're always impressed when competitors emerge with new approaches. It keeps us sharp. He was trying to spin it as healthy competition, as if I hadn't just made his entire platform obsolete. Today, I want to talk about the future of quantum computing and where CT Quantum fits into that future under our partnership with Maverick Systems. He launched into his prepared presentation, the same vision and buzzwords I had heard him pitch 1,000 times. Quantum supremacy, hybrid architectures, real-world applications. But something was different. He kept glancing at his notes. His timing was off. The charisma that usually carried him through presentations was strained, and the audience felt it. I could see people checking their phones, whispering to each other, looking uncertain. About 30 minutes in, during Q&A, a journalist from TechCrunch stood up. Mr. Castellano, Victoria Chen claimed this morning that she was the technical co-founder of CT Quantum and that her contributions were systematically minimized. Can you respond to that? Derek's jaw tightened. Victoria was an early investor and contributor to what became CT Quantum. We're grateful for her initial support, but to characterize her as a co-founder is a misrepresentation. CT Quantum was my vision, my company. But she provided the initial funding and, according to her presentation, designed the foundational architecture. How is that not co-founding? Investors provide capital. That doesn't make them founders. Victoria was well compensated for her contributions through stock options worth millions. Another journalist stood. Millions. Yes. But you personally made $847 million in the Maverick acquisition. Does that seem proportional given her role in building the technology? I'm not going to litigate personal financial matters in a public forum. What about the claim that Chen Innovation's platform is 8,000 times faster than CT Quantum's? Do you dispute those numbers? I haven't reviewed their technical specifications in detail, but I'm skeptical of any claims that seem too good to be true. There's usually a catch, limited applications, unrealistic conditions, cherry-picked benchmarks. She ran a live demo, the journalist pressed, with real calculations. I'm sure she did. But controlled demos aren't the same as production environments. Time will tell whether Chen Innovations can actually deliver at scale. It was a masterclass in deflection. But the damage was done. The questions kept coming not about his vision for quantum computing, but about me. About the past. About questions he couldn't answer without either lying or admitting uncomfortable truths. By the end, he looked exhausted. As he left the stage, our eyes met across the crowded auditorium. In his expression, I saw something I had never seen before. Defeat. That evening, I had dinner with Rachel at a small Italian place in the West Village. You did it, she said, raising her wine glass. You actually did it. You came back and proved everyone wrong. I proved I could build something better. That's not the same as being right. What do you mean? I spent 18 months in Singapore obsessed with beating Derek, with being better than him, with making him regret what he did. And today, I did all of that. But I don't feel the way I thought I would. How did you think you would feel? Triumphant. Victorious. Like I had finally gotten justice. And instead, empty. He looked so small, so desperate. And instead of satisfaction, I just felt sad. Rachel squeezed my hand. That's called growth. It means you're not the same person who left. Am I better or worse? Different. And probably better for it. You learned you don't need him, not his validation, not his acknowledgement, not his apology. You built something incredible on your own. Not on my own. I had investors, a team, Marcus. People who believed in you because you're brilliant, not because they owed you something. That's the difference, Vic. You proved you don't need Derek's platform to succeed. You can build your own. I thought about that. About the team in Singapore who had worked their asses off not because of some vendetta, but because they believed in the technology. About Yuki's breakthrough. About James's security innovations. About Maria's customer relationships. Chen Innovations wasn't about revenge. It had started that way, maybe. But somewhere along the way, it had become about something else. Proving I could build something meaningful on my own terms. I should go back to Singapore, I said. The company needs me. And I don't need to be here anymore. What about Derek? What about him? He's yesterday's news. I'm focused on tomorrow. And Diane? I hadn't thought about Diane all day. Hadn't looked for her after the morning session. Hadn't cared where she was or what she thought. She made her choice. She chose a man who sees people as assets. She'll learn eventually what that means. But it's not my job to teach her. You're really okay? I thought about it. Was I okay? I had lost a fiancé, a sister, a company I had helped build. I had spent 18 months in exile, rebuilding from nothing. I had transformed pain into purpose and betrayal into a better technology. I'm more than okay, I said. I'm free. The next morning, I flew back to Singapore. But the story wasn't over. The fallout from my presentation rippled through the tech industry for weeks. CT Quantum's stock dropped 23% as investors questioned whether their technology was becoming obsolete. 3 major customers put their contracts under review. 2 senior engineers quit to join Chen Innovations. Derek gave a damage control interview to Bloomberg where he claimed my demo was smoke and mirrors. Chen Innovations received term sheets from 4 different VCs for our Series A. We signed 2 new enterprise customers who had been evaluating CT Quantum. A detailed technical analysis in IEEE Spectrum confirmed our performance claims. Derek stopped responding to press requests. Maverick Systems announced they were reviewing strategic options for CT Quantum. Rumors circulated that Derek was being pushed out. Chen Innovations closed a $45 million Series A at a $200 million valuation. I was featured on the cover of Wired, the founder who disappeared and came back stronger. Derek resigned as CEO of CT Quantum. The official statement said he was pursuing other opportunities. The real story leaked by Marcus, who still had friends inside. He had been forced out by the board after Q1 numbers came in terrible. Diane filed for divorce. That last one caught me off guard. She's claiming he misrepresented his financial situation, Rachel told me over video call. Apparently, most of his money from the acquisition was tied up in Maverick stock, which has tanked since Chen Innovations emerged. Plus, he owes millions in taxes. She thought she was marrying a billionaire. Turns out he's worth maybe $200 million on paper and less in liquid assets. $200 million is still rich. Not rich enough for Diane, apparently. She's going for half of everything in the divorce. Of course she is. Does that make you feel anything? I thought about it. Did I feel vindicated? Schadenfreude? Justice? Mostly, I felt nothing. They deserve each other, I said finally. And whatever they're going through, it has nothing to do with me anymore. 6 weeks after the conference, I received a letter. Not an email. Not a text. An actual handwritten letter, forwarded from my old New York apartment to Chen Innovations' Singapore office. The return address was an apartment in Brooklyn. The handwriting was Diane's. I almost threw it away. But curiosity won out. Dear Victoria, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to care. But I need to write it anyway, even if just to admit the truth to myself. You were right about Derek, about everything. I thought I was winning when he chose me. I thought I had gotten the prize, the successful CEO, the wealth, the lifestyle. I thought you were the one who had lost. But he didn't choose me. He chose what I represented. Someone who wouldn't challenge him, who wouldn't expect him to be better than he was, who would take whatever version of the truth he sold and never question it. I was never his partner. I was his accessory. And it took losing everything for me to realize that being an accessory to someone else's life isn't the same as having a life. You built something real with him, even if he didn't appreciate it. You built something even more real without him. I've only ever built my life around men who make me feel important, never realizing that makes me nothing when they leave. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know what I did. I seduced your fiancé. I planned a wedding in secret. I let you find out via Instagram on your birthday. There's no apology big enough for that. But I want you to know, watching you at that conference, seeing what you built from the ashes of what we destroyed, you terrified me. Not because you were angry or vengeful, because you were strong in a way I've never been. You didn't need him. You never did. You needed to believe in yourself the way you believed in him. I hope someday I learn to be strong like that. To build instead of take. To create instead of destroy. I don't expect to hear back from you, but I needed you to know you won. Not because you hurt Derek or me, but because you became someone we could never be. Your sister, Diane. I read the letter 3 times. Then I wrote back, Diane, thank you for your honesty. It doesn't change what happened, but I appreciate it. You're right, I didn't need Derek. But it took losing him to learn that. Sometimes we need to lose everything to find out what we're actually made of. I hope you find your own strength, not for my sake, but for yours. Building your life around other people's validation is exhausting. I know because I did it too. I don't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't hate you anymore either. Hating you would mean you still mattered. And honestly, you don't. That's not cruelty. It's freedom for both of us. Take care of yourself. Victoria. I never heard from her again. If you've made it this far, you're part of something special. Subscribe now because Victoria's story isn't over. In our next video, you'll discover what happened when Derek showed up at her office with documents that could destroy everything she built. Part 2 drops in 24 hours. Hit subscribe or you'll miss the twist that changes everything. Comment "I'm ready" if you want the notification the second it goes live. The next 18 months were a blur of growth. Chen Innovations went from 35 employees to 300. From $200 million valuation to $2 billion. From pilots and proofs of concept to major enterprise deployments. We landed contracts with Goldman Sachs, using quantum mine for high-frequency trading algorithms, Johns Hopkins, drug discovery applications, the U.S. Department of Energy, climate modeling, 3 major telecommunications companies, network optimization. Every customer became a case study. Every deployment proved the technology wasn't smoke and mirrors, it was the real deal. Meanwhile, CT Quantum continued its decline. Without Derek's charisma and without competitive technology, they hemorrhaged customers and talent. Maverick Systems tried to turn it around by installing new leadership and investing in R&D, but you can't catch up when you're starting from a flawed foundation. By August 2024, rumors circulated that Maverick was looking to sell CT Quantum at a significant loss. Marcus forwarded me the speculation with a simple message. Karma's real, but I didn't feel vindicated. I felt tired. Tired of thinking about Derek. Tired of the narrative that my success was about revenge. Tired of being the woman who came back to destroy her ex. We need to change the story. I told Maria during a strategy session. What story? The Derek story. The betrayal story. Every article about Chen Innovations mentions him. Every interview, someone asks what it felt like to watch him fall. I'm done with that narrative. So what's the new narrative? That Chen Innovations isn't about beating anyone. It's about building the future of computing. It's about what we're creating, not what I survived. The press loves the underdog revenge angle, Maria warned. It's why we're getting so much coverage. I don't want coverage based on my personal drama. I want coverage based on our technology and our impact. We're better than clickbait. You're right. But can I give you some advice? Always. The reason people connect with your story isn't just the revenge. It's the resilience. You could rebrand away from Derek all you want, but the fact that you built this after what you went through, that's inspiring. That matters. She was right. But I was tired of being defined by what someone did to me instead of what I'd built despite it. So we focus on the impact. I decided. Every interview, every article, we talk about the technology, the customers, the future. If they ask about Derek, I say, that's old news. I'm focused on what's next. And what is next? Everything. In October 2024, I received an unexpected call. James Peterson, CEO of Titan Technologies, one of the 5 largest tech companies in the world, wanted to meet. We scheduled a video call. I expected a pitch about partnership or customer deployment. Instead, he said, Miss Chen, I'd like to acquire your company. I blinked. Excuse me? Chen Innovations. I want to buy it. Name your price. We're not for sale. Everyone's for sale at the right price. I'm prepared to offer $8 billion, cash in stock. You'd stay on as CEO of the quantum division. Full autonomy, unlimited resources. $8 billion. 10,000 times my mother's life insurance policy. 28 times what Derek had made selling CT Quantum. Why? I asked. Because you've built something extraordinary. Because quantum computing is the future and you're 5 years ahead of everyone else. Because I don't want to compete with you, I want you on my team. And if I say no, then I build our own quantum division and we compete, which will cost me more than $8 billion and take longer than I'd like. But I'm willing to do it if necessary. I thought about it. About what $8 billion would mean. Financial security beyond imagination. Resources to scale faster. Distribution through Titan's global network. But also, giving up control. becoming part of someone else's empire again, answering to a board and shareholders in quarterly earnings calls. I appreciate the offer, I said, but I'm not interested in selling. Is this about Derek? About wanting to beat CT Quantum on your own terms? No, it's about building something that's mine, that answers to me, that exists on my terms. Independence is expensive, Miss Chen. And lonely. Maybe, but it's mine. And right now that matters more than $8 billion. What if I offered $10 billion? I smiled. Mr. Peterson, you could offer $20 billion and my answer would be the same. I didn't build Chen Innovations to sell it. I built it to prove I could. And I'm not done proving it yet. He laughed. Fair enough. But when you change your mind, and you will, everyone does call me first. I never called. 3 months after rejecting Titan's offer, I was in Singapore wrapping up a board meeting when my assistant buzzed me. Miss Chen, there's someone here to see you. He says it's urgent and personal. Who is it? A pause. Derek Castellano. My stomach dropped. Tell him I'm not available. He said he's not leaving until you talk to him. He's been in the lobby for 3 hours. 3 hours. That was new. The old Derek would have demanded to see me immediately, would have used connections or charm to bypass security. This Derek was willing to wait. Fine, send him up. But Marcus stays in the room. Marcus, who had been packing up his laptop, looked up sharply. You sure about that? No, but I want to know what he wants badly enough to fly to Singapore. 5 minutes later, Derek Castellano walked into my office. He looked nothing like the man I had left in New York 18 months ago. The weight gain was gone, replaced by something gaunt and hollow. His suit was off the rack, not bespoke. His shoes needed polishing. But it was his eyes that shocked me. They held something I had never seen in Derek before. Humility. Victoria, he said. Thank you for seeing me. You have 10 minutes. Marcus is staying. That's fine. Derek glanced at Marcus, nodded. I deserve that. What do you want, Derek? He pulled out a folder, setting it on my desk. First, I want to give you these. I opened it. Inside were legal documents, declarations, affidavits, letters. What is this? The truth. In writing. Signed by me and notarized. Every document admits my role in minimizing your contributions to CT Quantum. Admits you were the technical co-founder. Admits I systematically erased you from the narrative. Admits the company was built on your investment, your code, your architecture, all of it. On the record. I stared at the papers. This was what I had wanted 18 months ago. What I had been willing to sue for. The acknowledgement that I had earned and been denied. Now it just felt like paper. Why now? Because I've spent the last year losing everything, and in the process, I finally had to face what I had done. Diane left me. The board pushed me out. My reputation is shot. My net worth is a fraction of what it was. And through all of it, the only person who actually built something meaningful was you. So this is guilt? This is atonement, or the beginning of it. I can't undo what I did, but I can stop lying about it. What do you want from me in return? Nothing. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to drop any legal claims, though honestly, you don't need to sue me anymore. I have nothing left worth taking. Then why are you here? Derek sat down, uninvited, looking exhausted. Because I need to understand something. How did you do it? How did you lose everything and come back stronger? Because I've lost everything, and I'm just drowning. I looked at this man I had once loved, once trusted, once believed in so completely I had given him my mother's life insurance money and 3 years of my life. He was broken now, genuinely broken, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no lingering anger, just a distant kind of pity. You want to know the difference between us? I said. When I lost everything, I learned I never actually needed you. When you lost everything, you learned you always needed me. That's why I'm here and you're not. I know that now. Do you? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear because you're hoping I'll throw you a lifeline? Both, probably. I'm not going to pretend I'm some reformed person who's learned all these lessons. I'm tired, Vic. I'm tired of pretending I built something I didn't. I'm tired of taking credit for other people's genius. I'm tired of being Derek Castellano, failed entrepreneur. So who do you want to be? I don't know. Someone honest, maybe. Someone who actually earns what he has instead of taking it from people who trust him. Marcus spoke up from his position by the door. That's called having integrity. It's not that complicated. Derek laughed bitterly. Easy for you to say. You left on principle. I got pushed out because I was fucking useless without the people who actually knew what they were doing. So learn to be useful, I said. Go work for someone else. Not as a CEO or founder, as an employee. Learn what it actually means to contribute instead of extract. Build something small and real instead of big and fake. Is that what you did? That's what I've always done. I just had to get away from you to remember it. Derek stared at the folder on my desk. Can I ask one thing? You can ask. Did you build Chen Innovations to destroy me? Or did you build it because you actually wanted to build it? I thought about that. About the anger and betrayal that had fueled me in those first months. About the moment it had shifted from revenge to purpose. Both. It started as wanting to prove you wrong. But somewhere along the way, it became about proving I was right about myself, my abilities, my worth. You stopped mattering. The work started mattering more. That's the difference between us, Derek said quietly. I only ever built things to prove something to other people. You build things to prove something to yourself. Finally, you understand. He stood, leaving the folder on my desk. I'll go. But Victoria, thank you. For seeing me, for being honest, for not destroying me more than I destroyed myself. Derek. He turned at the door. I'm not going to publish these documents or use them against you. What's done is done. But I'm going to keep them. Because my daughter, when I have one someday, is going to know the truth about what her mother built. And she's going to know that acknowledgement from the people who hurt you isn't what heals you. Building something better is. You're going to be an incredible mother, Derek said. And for the first time in our entire conversation, I believed he was being completely sincere. After he left, Marcus whistled low. Did not expect that. Neither did I. What are you going to do with those documents? I looked at the folder. The formal admissions. The notarized truth. Then I put it in my desk drawer and locked it. Nothing. They don't matter anymore. The world already knows who built what. I don't need Derek Castellano's permission to tell my own story. 2 years later, December 2026, Chen Innovations had gone public 6 months earlier at a $12 billion valuation. The IPO had been smooth, professional, focused entirely on the technology and the business rather than any personal drama. I had kept my promise to myself. Every interview, every article was about what we were building, not what I had survived. The Derek story had faded into background noise, a footnote in the company's origin story rather than the headline. But something else had happened during those 2 years. I had fallen in love. His name was Dr. Theo Felix, a quantum physicist who had joined Chen Innovations as our chief scientist. He was brilliant, funny, and completely unimpressed by my success or my story. I don't care what you overcame, he had said on our first date. I care what you're going to discover next. We had gotten married in a small ceremony in Singapore in March 2026, and in August, we had welcomed our daughter. We named her Grace, after my mother. Grace Victoria Kim Chen came into the world weighing 7 pounds, 3 ounces, with a full head of black hair and lungs that could wake the entire hospital floor. Holding her for the first time, I understood something I never had before. My mother hadn't left me an inheritance meant to be safe. She had left me an inheritance meant to be brave. $287,000 wasn't just money. It was permission. Permission to fail. Permission to risk. Permission to build something worth building, even if it cost everything. And now I could pass that same permission to my daughter. She's going to change the world, Theo whispered, looking at Grace sleeping in my arms. She doesn't have to change the world, I said. She just has to know she could if she wanted to. That's the gift. On Grace's first birthday, I did something I had been planning for years. I established the Grace Chen Foundation for Women in Technology. The mission was simple. Fund women entrepreneurs who had been systematically excluded from traditional funding channels. Women like me, brilliant, capable, overlooked because they didn't fit the Silicon Valley narrative of what a founder should look like. The foundation would provide capital, up to $500,000 per company, technical mentorship, legal support, connection to networks that women founders typically couldn't access. But the most important part was this. Every company funded by the Grace Chen Foundation would be required to sign a founder's equity protection agreement, legally binding documents that prevented the exact kind of erasure I had experienced. No more investors becoming founders. No more technical co-founders being reclassified as early employees. No more women who built companies watching men take credit. We launched with $50 million of my personal wealth. By the end of the first year, we had funded 35 companies. By year 2, 112. And we published every story. Every woman who had been overlooked, undermined, erased, we made them visible. The tech press loved it. But more importantly, the women we funded loved it. One of them, Jessica Martinez, founder of a biotech company we'd funded, told me, "For the first time, I feel like someone's protecting me instead of extracting from me. That's worth more than the money." That was the point. I couldn't change what had happened to me, but I could prevent it from happening to others. In January 2027, I was in New York for a foundation gala. The Grace Chen Foundation's annual fundraiser had become one of the premier events in tech. A who's who of founders, investors, and allies who believed in changing the broken systems that had harmed so many women. We had raised $12 million that night when my assistant approached me during the cocktail hour. "Miss Chen, there's someone asking to speak with you." I told him you were busy, but he's quite insistent. "Who?" "Derek Castellano." I hadn't seen or heard from Derek since that day in my Singapore office 2 years ago. According to Marcus, who still tracked industry gossip, Derek had taken my advice. He had taken a job as a product manager at a mid-sized tech company. No C-suite, no equity, just a job where he actually had to deliver value instead of sell vision. "Tell him I'll give him 5 minutes after the speeches." 2 hours later, I found Derek waiting in a side room. He looked different again, healthier, more grounded, less performative. "Victoria, thank you for seeing me. You have 5 minutes. "I know. I just wanted to tell you something. I've been following the foundation's work, what you're doing protecting women founders, funding companies that VCs overlook, making stories visible. It's incredible. Is there a point to this?" "The point is, I want to help. I want to donate. And I want to volunteer, mentor, advise, whatever you need. Not because I think it'll redeem me, but because after everything that happened, maybe I can help prevent the next me from hurting the next you." I studied him. "You want to volunteer for a foundation dedicated to protecting women from men like you used to be?" "Yes, exactly that. I can teach people what not to do, what red flags look like, how manipulation works, because I've done all of it. And maybe that experience is worth something if it prevents others from making the same mistakes." It was perhaps the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard Derek say. "You understand that you would be working with women who've been betrayed the way I was? Women who might hate you on sight because you represent what they survived? I understand. And if they tell me to leave, I'll leave. But if I can help even one person avoid what I put you through, isn't that worth trying?" I considered it. The old Victoria, the one destroyed by betrayal, would have said no immediately, would have wanted nothing to do with Derek Castellano in any form. But that Victoria was gone. The new Victoria understood that people could change, that redemption was possible, that sometimes the best teachers of what not to do were people who had done everything wrong. "Probation," I said. 6 months. "You work with our legal team developing educational materials about founder protection and red flags in partnerships. If you're genuine, if you're helpful, we'll discuss more. But the moment you make this about your redemption narrative instead of actually helping people, you're out. Deal." "Thank you, Victoria." "Don't thank me. Thank the hundreds of women who'll benefit if you're actually serious about this." He nodded and left. Theo found me a few minutes later. "I heard Derek Castellano crashed your fundraiser. He wants to volunteer. Are you insane? After what he did to you? Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally secure enough in what I've built that I don't need to punish him forever. The best revenge isn't making him suffer, it's making him useful." Theo laughed. "You're either the most enlightened person I know, or the most diabolical. Can't I be both?" 5 years after that conference in New York, March 2028, Chen Innovations was now valued at $47 billion. We had gone from disrupting quantum computing to defining it. Every major technology company in the world used quantum mine. We had enabled breakthroughs in drug discovery, climate modeling, artificial intelligence, and cryptography. But more importantly, at least to me, we had built something that treated people well. Our attrition rate was 3%, the lowest in tech. We had equal pay across gender and race. We promoted from within. We credited contributions accurately. We had become what CT Quantum could have been if Derek had ever valued people as much as profits. CT Quantum itself had been quietly shut down by Maverick Systems in late 2027. The technology was obsolete, the customers had left, and the name had become synonymous with also-ran. Derek's volunteer work with the foundation had evolved into something real. He had developed a curriculum on ethical partnerships that business schools were actually teaching. He had mentored 12 founders through early-stage challenges. He had become, improbably, a voice for accountability in tech. He had never regained his reputation as a visionary. But he had built something more valuable. A reputation for honesty. Diane had remarried a dentist in Ohio, according to Rachel. She had left tech and marketing entirely, now working at a nonprofit for domestic violence survivors. Rachel said she was genuinely changed, genuinely trying to be better. I didn't think about either of them much anymore. They were chapters in my story, not the story itself. My story was Grace, now 3 years old, who could already recognize algorithms in children's books and ask questions about quantum entanglement that I couldn't believe came from a toddler. My story was Theo, whose quantum research had won her a Fields Medal and whose love had taught me that partnership could actually mean partnership. My story was the 287 companies the foundation had funded, led by women who were building the future. My story was Chen Innovations, which had just announced a breakthrough in room temperature quantum computing that would make the technology accessible to every country on Earth, not just wealthy nations. That was what I had built from my mother's $287,000 in Derek's betrayal. Not revenge. Not even justice. Something better. A future where the next Victoria Chen wouldn't have to disappear to be seen. What hurts the most is when you trust someone blindly, and they prove you're really blind. But here's what they don't tell you. Sometimes blindness is temporary. And when you finally see clearly, you see everything, including the path forward. Derek Castellano taught me what betrayal looks like. My mother taught me what courage looks like. My sister taught me what weakness looks like. Theo taught me what love looks like. Grace taught me what purpose looks like. But I taught myself what rising looks like. 7 years ago, I was a barista with a dream and someone else's vision. Today, I'm a founder, a wife, a mother, and the creator of technology that's reshaping how the world thinks about computing. Derek made $847 million from a company I helped build. I made $47 billion from a company I built alone. But the numbers don't matter. What matters is this. I learned that the person who underestimates you isn't seeing your weakness. They're revealing theirs. And sometimes, the greatest gift someone can give you is making you so angry, so determined, so absolutely done with their bullshit that you become the person you were always meant to be. Derek didn't make me. He didn't break me. He just got out of the way long enough for me to find out who I was without him. And that person? She was always there. She just needed the right reason to rise. If you made it to the end of this hour, you're not just a viewer, you're family. Subscribe because our next story will blow your mind. Hit subscribe or you'll miss the most satisfying story.